Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining another episode of the Product Management Learning Series. My name is Shivi, host of this show. Welcome to another episode, and please introduce yourself. Drop in the chat where you're joining us from. So, as many of you know, the PM Learning Series is a series of live streaming events where industry thought leaders and product practitioners share their product building career journeys as well as lessons learned to inspire aspiring and current product builders like you to level up your product career. As many of you also know that we're starting a very special series featuring product builders and thought leaders, entrepreneurs from leading generative AI companies. Please join us as we explore the challenges and opportunities from this transformative technology paradigm shift and gain insights from those leading the charge in generative AI product development. So make sure you subscribe to our newsletter, which you can find a link in the event details tab to receive recap of key takeaways from today's conversation, as well as future event updates. So without further ado, let me introduce today's guest. We bring Chris up to the stream. Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Chris is the co-founder of Copy.ai, which is a very, very exciting generative AI, one of the probably the most exciting ones in the generative, content and productivity space. I think you guys was founded in 2021. Is that right?
2020, actually.
2020, right. And then way after sort of an incumbent like Jesper, who has been in the field for a while, but you guys basically kind of trumpet and like was becoming this leader in the generative AI content space. So really, really excited to have you here today. Without further ado, I think the best way to introduce you and the product, Chris, is probably doing a quick demo, bring the magic life. So yeah, without further ado, let's
let me help out. So we have two parts of this app. And we'll start with chat. So chat to us is very similar to ChatGPT and other types of platforms. However, we are focused a little bit more on really making a business use case, especially for teams. So let me show you an example. Let's summarize the latest news on generative AI. And you can see we've built in other tool usage, such as searching the internet, as well as scraping websites. And we're continuously adding more and more tools specifically for business users that can make this really, really useful. And so if you take a look at these results, they're actually very relevant and they're from recent days. And we also give citations. So this is an example of using chat. Chat is great as a day-to-day assistant. I use it a lot myself to write copy, any small notes that I need to do, and it makes it a lot easier. However, our vision of the world is actually a lot bigger than just chat. From the time we started, we really believed that the world is due for a new transformational platform. And this platform is going to be different because it's going to allow people to scale themselves. It's going to allow them to bring their creativity to life in ways that is not possible before. And unfortunately, we don't believe that chatting with it is going to bring us that future state. Instead, we wanted to figure out, okay, well, what does it take to make something build itself, to make it, almost create these new workflows that can scale? A lot of business, a lot of product, a lot of work in general is like trying to figure things out. When you figure it out, then you want to scale it, turn it into a process. And up until now, you've had to throw more humans at the process, but tooling is to help unlock that next level of scale without really, spending as much. And that's going to be the true unlock for every single human in the world when people don't need to hire entire teams to bring their ideas to life. And so I'm going to show you a different part of our work, our system.
Chris, before you jump in, I just have a quick question. I think the chat is really cool, especially at sites, where the sources are coming from. It helps quickly doing is this AI hallucinating or is it quoting from the actual source? Quick question, I see that some of the reports are actually coming from like 2023 or new, insight. So does this mean that unlike GPT-4, for example, or ChatGPT, where the training data stops in September 2021, this actually reads from the latest and the greatest in the internet? Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, we are designed for a business use case. And for businesses, you need real-time data. Things change all the time. And so we want to keep our users up to date.
This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And then, oh, one thing I forgot to mention is inside of chat, we allow you to put your own brand voice. And you can see I have Copy.ai selected, and that allows them to be able to write in Copy.ai's brand voice across the board. And that's really useful for your entire team when you want to centralize the voice.
That's really cool. Are you able to paste, let's say, like an external URL and let it read from that URL too?
Yes, we can. Let me do this real quick. So list the features of, and then we'll do like copy.ai. So it's going to actually scan the website. And then this takes a little longer because it has to go and actually read the website. And then it takes that information and we generate a awesome output.
That's amazing. By the end of the show, I think you need to tell us, like, can people sign up to use this for free and stuff like that? I'm gonna probably using this versus paying $20 for GPT-4. Just for folks to consider. Yeah. Great.
There you go. You can see this is all very accurate stuff. You can see it picked up on the brand voice, on the workflows, even our API and our security. So it's able to really get this all accurately. Chat is great and all, but how do you really scale your work? How do you scale your processes? And this is something that we're really excited about. And so we created something that we're calling workflows. And here you can conversationally generate processes for your work, specifically workflows. So in this case, let's take a product document. We're going to extract a list of FAQs for customer support, and then we're going to generate marketing copy to introduce the product. So we can just describe it and it will build it. In the meantime, we'll come on over to chat real quick and we'll generate a fake product document that we can use to show off this workflow. And so let's go back here real quick. And it does take a little bit longer because it's actually configuring a full end-to-end workflow itself. And so you can see it finished. Let me walk you through what happened. It realized, okay, I need some input, and that's going to be the product document that we're going to paste in. And then it also realized, hey, I can extract a list of FAQs for this product that would be useful for customer support. And you can actually choose the different models that you want to use to generate. And so in this case, let's change it to Claude 2 and we can save it. And then afterwards, it'll use the FAQs to generate marketing copy that introduces the key features of this product as well as the benefits. And let's use Anthropic as well. Now let's grab this and let's grab this product description and let's test it out. So here I can actually paste in the product document that I have, and you can see it basically is made up. It's a pirate speak translator, and we gave it a PRD. So you can really paste in whatever raw document you have, and it will run these processes. This is a very simple one, and I will show you some more complex ones in a little bit. But as you can see, it took us really just describing what we're imagining, and we were able to build custom software that's exactly on point for this. So you can take a look. It generated the FAQ, and then it also generated the marketing copy. And this is unbelievably scalable. So we have customers that are using us for many, many products, running hundreds of thousands of times. And we even use it ourselves to automate a lot of our work. And this is so easy to use. It actually allows our marketers and non-technical people to build really powerful AI applications using our product.
This is really great. I think in a moment we'll double click on some of the tech stack around some of these. How would you, what are some of the types of workflows that, do you have a template to inspire teams on what they can do with those workflows and how to get started?
Yep, coming soon. Actually, later this week, we're going to have this workflow library. Right now it's in beta, so I'm not going to show it off, but I will tease it. We're going to start with a lot of marketing and sales workflows, and every workflow we build, we want to blow your mind away. As a matter of fact, I have one that I can showcase here, and I was going to share it because it could be useful for you. Basically, after this conversation, let's say you wanted to generate a thank you email for people who watch this live, or you wanted to generate a follow-up email for people who weren't able to make it. And so here we can actually just paste in the entire transcript, and then it will write a thank you email for attendees who attended, and then it'll write a follow-up email for people who did not attend and share some replay information. And so it's like a really, really powerful workflow. Suddenly your job is just, once we finish this interview, I can just get the transcript, paste it in, and all the marketing copy for follow-up is ready for you.
Wow, this is amazing. I can't wait to use this. Yeah, so Chris, definitely let us know, if you have sign up codes or like free trials for people to try this product after today. But I definitely personally are intrigued, and thank you for demoing with a workflow potentially that would be useful for me. So with that, I think let's travel back maybe the memory lane to understand a little bit more about the origin story, right? What inspired you and Paul, your co-founder, to start Copy.ai?
Great question. So Paul and myself worked together for 5 years. And in the middle of COVID, business was a little slow. We were at a venture firm, and at that point in time, not many deals were getting done. And so we started just exploring, like, what is possible in the world? And one question that we kept asking ourselves is, why isn't the world more technologically advanced? Why aren't we living in the future state that we all imagine, right? And we started digging into it. Is it because it's hard? Like, is there too many ideas? Are people not being ambitious enough? Why are they not being ambitious enough? And the one thing that we came out is that, yeah, it is just really, really hard to start a business. There's just way too much work to do, and that causes a huge drop off, right? To have a successful business, you have to understand sales, marketing, product, operations, even just the legal side of doing business. It just is a headache. And it's just so big of a cliff to climb that most people can't even start climbing or get over that cliff. And that made us realize, if we can lower the barriers of climbing that cliff, if we can make it easy for people to start and scale these businesses, then a lot more people will feel comfortable having these ideas, exercising their creativity and bringing things to life. And that's what gets us really excited. And back then we were looking at this idea that we called the business. What is the business that builds businesses, right? And we looked into crypto at the time. It's like, can we create a bounty network that kind of incentivizes people? Can we mimic the GitLab playbook of having everything really public and have people volunteer? And then that is when GPT-3, OpenAI's first generative model that was really good, came out. And suddenly we immediately knew, this is going to be done with AI. And AI is going to be able to help scale every single person. And it's going to give every single person the power of like 100, if not 1,000 teammates to get anything they want done with the best practices just instilled inside of it. We actually didn't start off to create a copywriting app. Paul and I are not marketers. We were not super passionate about it, but that was where the market pool was. What we are passionate about is solving problems that stand in the way of people and bringing their ideas to life. And turns out communicating them is a really, really important one. Whether you're in a large enterprise or you're starting your own thing, clearly communicating why your idea is important and getting other people excited is extremely, extremely important. And so copywriting tended to be one of the biggest problems that people had. And that's how we started Copy.ai.
Yeah, I think that's stuff I can definitely resonate with that pain point, and it's generally applicable, not just for marketers and copywriters, but anyone who have idea to say in whatever capacity, right? Product managers certainly, and entrepreneurs, but even just someone who's working on branding themselves as a coach or job interview, how to present themselves, right? So I definitely think it's a big problem space. If I remember correctly, I was reading some of the Copy.ai's, founding stories and growth trajectory. I read somewhere in just a year, Copy.ai achieved quite impressive growth to about 2.4 million annual recurring revenue. Could you shed some lines on what were some of the initial traction? Like, you weren't a marketer, you and Paul weren't marketers, but how did you find the sort of early customers and quickly be able to expand? And what were some of the growth loops or tactics that you used to get early traction?
Great question. We did not have much going for us when we started, right? Paul and I are not experienced entrepreneurs. We didn't have we didn't work at a famous company. So we leaned into what we knew best, which is really focusing on our passion. And our passion was around helping people start businesses. Everyone envisions themselves, living a better life. And the problem is most people don't know how, and there's not enough stories that really share the inner workings of it. So we did what we called building in public, right? And it was a pretty big trend already, but we really leaned into that. Paul was tweeting every single day. We had a monthly update where it was the same update we would send to our investors, and we would put it publicly on Twitter. We would do revenue updates, and it was just the two of us. And it'd be every new product feature we launched, we would immediately announce it. And we really, really just grew our audience, our initial audience that way. We do have to give a lot of credit to OpenAI. They built an incredible model. It was stepwise functions better than anything that existed before, right? And us learning how to use it and being able to deploy it successfully was also a huge testament to it. By getting that quality to a bar that was good enough that made people feel like, wow, this thing's actually really creative yet controllable, really allowed us to get that word of mouth going. It was just really magical of an experience. You type something in, you click a button, you get a lot more text back. And not only that, but it's text that was better than you could write yourself. And that was the emotional connection that we help people do. It's like, wow, not only did I write this text, but I was able to express exactly what was in my head, and the AI helped do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first time I get exposed to the technology was actually last year in September before the GPT launch. And I remember my manager was like, hey, play with prompting, the AI. I was like, what do you mean by that? Can I just ask a question? I asked a basic question. I started writing, and then the manager's like, keep prompting more. And then it was quite magical for me to say, to grasp what that really means. So after sort of the initial magic moment, the wow, the delight, what were some of the strategies that you continue to use to kind of grow yourself and scale Copy.ai?
Great question. We focused very much on distribution. And in particular, our distribution took two approaches. One is social content. So this was right when TikTok was starting to hit, probably just finished the inflection curve. So fun fact, early on when Paul was building in public on Twitter, I was building in public on TikTok and grew a small audience there. But through that, we were able to meet a lot of other influencers who had pretty big followings. It was a new platform. People were really excited, and they would help us create content because it sells itself. It's really, really magical. Like, wow, you type here, click a button, you get text back. Like, that's really magical of an experience. And then the other one was SEO, right? It's like, oh, wow, well, we're a generative marketing platform. We should probably use it to try and boost our own marketing. And so what we did was we created, programmatic strategies, creating a lot of blog posts, and then basically using that to drive traffic. However, doing that with the right strategy makes a world of difference. You can go out and pump a lot of top of funnel, blogs that aren't very helpful, and you won't get anywhere. However, we took an approach of like, okay, here's how you solve a given problem with our platform, and then here's a button that with one click you can solve it. And that made it a lot easier. Basically, it's like, okay, here's the promise, here's the expectation. They try it out, they use it, and they're sold. And so those strategies have worked really well for us. They were quite scalable, and it got us to where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I took note of some of it because, for example, there's so many content generation tools, right? Starting from GPT, and then Jasper was the earlier one. I think they're right now, Rysonic. I lose track of how many that would be out there. But then I realized you guys did a really good job, even on your website, your listing, comparing the pros and cons of different tools. This made me wonder, how do you differentiate Copy.ai from all the rest of AI-driven content generation tools out there? A lot of people said this is an on race. Do you agree? And how are you playing this game to differentiate?
It's a great question. One thing that I do not appreciate enough is when you start a company, you have a lot of competitors that will look very similar. And that's because they haven't had much time to build out the product, right? It's like, oh, they're having traction with this thing, I'm going to build that thing. However, as you scale the company, as more decisions are made, the products actually diverge quite a bit. And for us, our lifeblood is not in marketing or content generation. Our lifeblood is actually around helping people get more done, accomplish more, feel that sense of confidence, the sense of empowerment that they can get insane amounts of work done. And so you can see it reflecting in our product more and more over time. So initially it starts with a simple chat app where it is quite similar to ChatGPT. It is quite similar to all these other chat tools, but that's not what drives us. What drives us is allowing every single person in the world to create and come up with a new system that they can then install into their business, that they can share with other people, so we can share the best practices of building a business, of getting your work done, and being really creative about it, right? And that's what excites us. And so what differentiates us now is this workflows platform that allows us to make it so easy for anybody to create a complex multi-step AI-powered workflow that they can then install in their business, and it just runs. And it runs consistently for a long time and basically is infinitely scalable. And that's the biggest differentiator for us, because we care a lot about helping people get not just to like the 5x improvement, but how do we get people to the 1,000x improvement? How do we make them feel so empowered? They're like Iron Man. They can do anything they want. Any idea they have, they can come up with an entire business just by describing it. That's what gets us really excited.
That's awesome. I love, I can see clearly your passion coming through. Like you start with the why, understanding, hey, I also like the platform play, because you're kind of like the Lego blocks of, productivity and workflow, right? It doesn't matter what kind of things you made out of the Lego, but it's there as the building blocks to serve you. So I do like that sort of mentality. Now, when you were doing the demo, actually, I had that question. I thought about asking it right away, but I wait for it for a little bit, because it's sort of tied to this differentiation and AI on race as well. Because many people argue, hey, today there are a lot of startups, we call them AI tourists, because they're basically building like GPT wrappers, right? Everybody's just calling ChatGPT or maybe some other models now, and some do some very basic, surface level fine tuning. Could you help us maybe unpack and like demystify some of that, and to the extent that you could share, how has the AI tech stack for Copy.ai evolved over the years, now that you have been in the market for about 4 years now?
Great question. Yeah. So when we first started, there wasn't much, right? We were very much a wrapper around GPT-3. However, the advantage there is we were really early. Most people had no idea how to talk to GPT-3. If there's anybody out there who was using it in 2020 or 2021, you'll remember how painful it was to actually get it to do what you wanted to do without going completely off the rails, right? So a lot of our early tech stack was very much developed around that. It's like, what are the best practices to talking to this AI model, to getting the best outputs? How do you really scale that? How do you build new tools? And it was really, really fun. However, probably middle to end of last year, we realized, okay, we are at an inflection point. There's going to be better models. There's going to be multiple other providers, and every single model is going to be better at certain things and certain tasks. And how do we bring this power not only to ourselves, but to our customers? And so we invested very heavily in our platform infrastructure, right? What people don't know is our chat app is actually built on top of the same exact infrastructure that powers our workflows. And so it's actually showing, hey, once you build a really solid foundational infrastructure that can use multiple AI models, that manages the errors properly, that fixes things as they come up, that becomes more conversational, learns from the user, you can actually use that platform in multiple different ways. And so today our platform is much more advanced, right? The example I showed you only had very simple AI steps. But what you don't know is there's actually search, there's actually scrape, there's actually a lot more other tools that this platform can use. And every time we add a new tool, it makes the platform a lot more powerful. And the AI is just an orchestration of these tools. It's like what allows it to, utilize different things and accomplish the task that the user wants to accomplish without having to go into the details themselves. And that's the exciting part. So today, our AI tech stack is very much a platform. It spans everything from the actual underlying model, how you optimize prompting, how you improve it over time, all the way up until like the use cases of like, how do you actually configure a use case, and how do you adjust, update, edit, and it's all completely AI native.
That's really exciting. Just to double click a couple basic, use cases to the extent you could share. I noticed that in the chat or the workflow, you can select different LLMs to play with or try out. Is the intent for people to test with different ones, or the idea is that you can actually use a mixture of multiple LLMs at once? How does that work?
Great question. So there's different trade-offs of different LLMs, right? Like GPT-4 is extremely smart. but it's slow and expensive. So what do you do? Do you always use that? And then there's something like GPT 3.5 or Claude, Instant, which is really fast, but may struggle with some more complicated, instructions or topics. And so we want to give our customers the opportunity to use the best model for the task at hand. If it's a simple extraction task, yeah, GPT 3.5 might be more than enough. If it's something much more advanced, something that requires advanced SQL writing or something like that, then you may want to use GPT-4. But giving the customer the optionality is extremely important. One thing that we're also doing is we're being smarter about routing and predicting, hey, this task probably needs a smarter model. This task probably needs not a smart model, and we can actually adjust it on the fly, and that changes the cost structure and really improves the latency and really helps squeeze the last bit of juice out of this workflow.
This is really amazing. Yeah. The other thing I noticed is that, remember how you mentioned there's different type of workflows that someone can do. Do you do more fine tuning on top of the workflow, or depending on the type of workflow or type of customer? I know that you said you want to build this generic platform, but are you also doing this kind of vertical fine tuning and customization?
Great question. We don't do it publicly, but we are working with some, Fortune 100 customers who are looking for that. And because of the platform, it's really easy to just add a custom tool for this enterprise, right? It's oh, they have a lot of internal data they want to utilize. Oh yeah, sure, we can help you train a model. Now we can add that new model into our platform so you can use it to orchestrate whatever workflow you're trying to create.
That's very exciting. Now, let's talk about the next sort of controversial question, or really hotly debated question in the market, about the dynamics around startups and incumbents. So are you worried that existing big tech companies with established clients like Salesforce, maybe Microsoft, maybe HubSpot's, incorporating a similar AI technologies into their workflow? How do you see sort of the smaller, startups like Copy.ai that's moving super fast, going up market, is competing with someone who's already in the market with all the distribution and client base?
Great question. We believe the world's changing. And if the world's going to change the way we think it's going to change, the opportunity is going to be massive. The existing markets are going to be extremely competitive. It's going to be really hard. Google's going to add a lot of AI copywriting features directly into Google Docs. Microsoft's going to add it directly into Word. How do you compete against that? But where we believe there's a huge new opportunity revolves around our vision of empowerment, right? Because suddenly it's yeah, you can add these features, you can sprinkle AI on top, but how do you truly create something that scales beyond just the traditional tools? How do you create something that can stand the test of time long term, and reinvent how entire businesses are operated, how work gets done? And how do you reinvent it in a way where it's 10 times, if not 100 times more effective and efficient? Those are things that those larger companies are not working on. They already are invested in a lot of the tooling they've created, their Word, the Excels, the PowerPoints, and they're going to struggle keeping up. But what we have is the ability to be really nimble and be very opinionated about what we imagine in the future. And that's going to set us apart. It's going to allow us to go in a direction that those larger incumbents cannot move.
I love the emphasis on speed, agility, and focus. And the whole sort of this notion of what's that word that I'm looking for? Ample thinking, you're thinking, believing that the pie will grow with this new tech versus trying to continue to compete for the same the same slice of pie. Speaking of which, I think the next question is also often asked. I believe in the VC community, around moats and defensibility, partly because a lot of the startups are GPT wrappers. I know that one of the differentiation actually for Copy.ai is that you guys are not, at least right now, not at the early stage. But what are some additional moats that you think you're building to kind of defend yourself for long-term sustainability?
Great question. There aren't that many really powerful moats in the world, right? And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're, probably wrong. However, for us, we really think that going deeper into a company will give us longer term defensibility and sustainability. And the way to go deeper is to become the best platform for a business, right? It allows us to really focus on, okay, how do we reimagine a business? How do we help with all these different business processes? How do we become a core part of the DNA of a company? Once you get there, you have a lot more defensibility. It's a lot harder to rip you out, and that's exactly what we're going after. However, in terms of other moats, really being one of the leading AI, platforms that allow people to just go so much faster, it becomes a no-brainer to purchase, to use you, and that, along with going deeper, becomes this massive, massive opportunity. Microsoft, Google, they have great moats already. They're going to try to do the same thing to a certain degree, but how do we deliver a 10x, 100x experience from their co-pilots that actually make people a lot more effective, make people empowered a lot more for their day-to-day work?
Yeah, this is exciting future. I think everybody's trying to incorporate AI and growing that pie and seeing what's possible. Speaking of what's possible, I think it's time for us to kind of looking into the future and sort of doing a little bit of visioning. So how do you think the world of AI, the content, generation, workflow automation, and you call yourself generative productivity, how will this space evolve, let's say in the next 3 to 5 years? And what role do you like to see Copy.ai play in this space?
Great question. 3 to 5 years. That's a long time frame. If you told me 3 years ago that the world would be in the state it was today, I would say, are you sure about that? That seems a little far-fetched, but here we are. That's a fascinating question. Gartner has a great quote, which is like every single employee is going to start owning things end to end a lot more, from the conception of an idea to getting it to work for the first time, scaling it, improving it. And, it really becomes building a business, building a process. And every single person needs to start playing a bigger role in every single business, right? And we love that idea because, we don't think humans were designed to sit in front of a computer screen 8 hours a day, filling out Excel sheets, right? Modifying things in Word, adding comments. Like, we really think that people are their best when they're able to be creative. And we deeply believe that every single person in the world is creative to a certain extent or a certain way of thinking. So what is the platform that enables all that creativity? What is the platform that allows people to kind of, focus more on the relationships, focus more on the problems, focus on solving these problems in the world instead of the more menial manual tasks of, I just need to type this thing up in. Where we see it all evolving is that generative AI is going to become much more powerful, right? The models are only going to get smarter, cheaper, and it's going to be able to do more. So we need to align ourselves with, okay, well, if that's true, how do we make our products take advantage of every single new release, right? So when this thing comes out, does it enable even more workflows that can be done? Does it enable even more use cases? And then how do we deliver this to our customers? When prices drop, can we enable more use cases? Suddenly it's like, hey, it's a fraction of the price it used to be. Now we can do this new thing because it used to be too cost prohibitive. However, to really answer your point, we think that, it's just everything's going to be a lot easier to be done, and it's going to get a lot cheaper. And we're already seeing the early signs of this. We are a testament of this ourselves, right? Using our own platform, we can scale a process to infinity, right? And that's been extremely exciting to see. And then when that is possible and anybody can create these processes, then it's just a matter of figuring out the most creative ones, right? There exist creative new ways of thinking that we have never even explored before, and now is possible. So the world of opportunity is absolutely massive, and the people who can help tap that new entire world are going to have a great time.
I think this is a really exciting vision and future that we're look after too, and especially it's probably not that far away, right? Think about what was possible 3 years ago and what's now. I think before we close, I like to bring this show to add a little bit more personal elements to it. So obviously, it's been an amazing journey. I'm sure it's full of up and downs as you're building out Copy.ai. What were some of the, would you say, were pivotal moments for both, failures and try like success? What are some of the most significant learnings that you want to share during this past couple of years building Copy.ai and this working with generative AI technology?
Great question. That's a loaded question. There's a lot that we've learned. A few of the big learnings for me is constantly focusing on the customer, not on exactly what they're saying literally, but on the thing that they're trying to do. And especially in a space where it's so powerful, you're like, oh wow, I can actually reimagine this like 10 steps beyond what the customer is asking for. The customer's like, hey, I want to write marketing copy. It's like, well, actually, what you really want may be like this entire web, the transcript summarization. Like, you just want to remove that entire area of work, right? It's like, oh, suddenly you want to build this to an entire full end-to-end process. The moments that mattered was like realizing, oh, building a platform enables you to go faster. Investing heavily in that infrastructure will matter a lot, especially in a fast-moving space. We did not do that early enough. We, had to pay off a good amount of technical debt within the first year and a half. That slowed us down. Building product here enables you to create magical experiences in completely new ways and much more intuitive ways. And it's hard sometimes to put yourself in that new world state because if you focus too much on what current products look like, most of design and product is actually around like existing things that are iterative on top of some existing flow or UI or something along those lines. This is an opportunity to just reimagine all of it because the AI can just do so much. And then really keeping your eye on that future vision, right? It's like, that is what defines the company, the problems we work on, the people we work with, and the mission of doing all of this. And so really keeping that in mind and being excited about bringing that to the rest of the world is extremely, extremely important. Those are just some learnings, but there were a lot throughout this entire process.
I'm sure. And thank you for sharing that. I love the sort of taking a step back, kind of embracing that first principle thinking of like not just incremental improvements and changes, but really thinking big and like what can we achieve and reimagine existing workflows with this new technology. I knew that I need to ask this question personally, even just for myself, but obviously on behalf of the community. When I did the research and look up your LinkedIn, what I noticed was that obviously beyond that you are the co-founder for Copy.ai, but you were also, I think, investors of maybe over a dozen, 20, maybe even 30. I lost count of how many companies were there on your LinkedIn profile. I'm just curious, like, how do you manage to do so much?
Great question. I wish I could say, oh yeah, we use our own platform for that. We don't. Those investments happened before we started Copy.ai. And that was very much in the area where we're thinking like, who are these founders? Like, why are they building what they're building? Can we help push their ideas further? And we learned a lot from them. And so those angel investments were back when Paul and I were still investing. And we really got to see a lot of different ideas, and see those ideas come to life. And that's been absolutely inspirational. Today, we're 100% focused on Copy.ai, so I have not had time to look at angel investments, and I don't plan on it. But it is just really, really meaningful to Paul and myself to support entrepreneurs, to help people, bring their ideas to reality, because it's, in my opinion, one of the most fulfilling things you can be doing.
I think that sort of ties into the origin story of how you get your inspiration, right? Is talking to some of those early startup founders and understand their pain points and seeing how you can help them, grounding in that why that you were mentioned earlier. All right, Chris, thank you so much. Good times always pass by super fast. I'm really excited to have this opportunity to talk to you and share all the goodness that you're building with Paul on Copy.ai. If there's anything around how people can sign up and try it out, do let me know. I'll include it in the newsletter that gets shared out. And thank you, folks, for joining us today. Make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. You can find the link in the event details tab, and you can receive recap of today's takeaway and from conversations with Chris and many more alike in the future. So stay tuned, and thank you again, Chris, and looking forward to seeing many of you in future episodes.
Thank you.
Bye.